A few weeks ago, I wanted to pull myself out of a creative slump. I thought the peaceful Cumberland Wilderness would help. I camped in the woods before, so I thought I knew what to expect. It was quiet, just the rustling of leaves and some distant animal calls. I felt anxious but mostly excited to capture the beauty of the landscape with my camera. I set up my tent in a small clearing. Night fell quickly and I lit a small campfire. Around midnight I heard something strange. It wasn't an animal. It felt like voices. I thought I might be imagining things. Then I heard a crackling sound, like a fire. Curious, I got up to check it out. I walked cautiously through the trees. The chill of the night air settled around me. My heart was racing. Maybe there was another camper nearby. As I got closer, the sounds faded. I reached an open spot in the woods, but the flickering light was gone. It was only cold, empty ground. I felt uneasy, like someone was watching me. I shook off the feeling and returned to my camp. But the air felt heavy. The next day I went for a hike to clear my mind. The woods felt thicker, almost claustrophobic. I noticed strange symbols carved into several tree trunks. I couldn't tell if they were old markings or something more sinister. I took some photographs but hesitated to get too close. Each mark felt like it held a secret I wouldn't understand. I felt eyes on me, shadows darting at the edge of my vision. They were just flickers, but I knew I wasn't alone. That night, I heard rustling at the edges of my camp. I wanted to believe it was animals, but it felt different. There was something deliberate about the noise, almost like it was circling. I kept my camera close, ready to grab a shot if I saw anything. My hands shook. Cold fear crept in. On my last night, I sat by my fire knowing I had to pack up in the morning. It was quiet, but it felt wrong. I thought I saw a figure standing far off in the trees. The dark shape shifted and was gone. I couldn't tell if I was dreaming. My breath quickened. Had I gone too far out here? Why was I so scared? Then just before dawn, I heard a whisper. It seemed to come from everywhere. "You can't leave," it said. I jumped to my feet, but I saw nothing. My heart was pounding as I turned back to my tent. I asked out loud, "Who's there?" There was silence. I didn't know what to do. When I stepped inside my tent, I froze. My backpack was unzipped and my camera was missing. Panic surged through me. I grabbed my flashlight and stepped outside. The campfire flickered low, casting spooky shadows. I started searching, but it felt like the forest was alive around me. Then I heard that whisper again. Closer now. "You can't leave." I felt the cold grip of fear wrap around me. I turned slowly and noticed something in the dark. A figure was waiting at the tree line. It was watching me. I was rooted to the spot. I never got to take that next step. I'm still waiting to leave the wilderness. I woke to the sound of crackling leaves outside my tent. The early morning light filtered through the fabric, but I didn't feel comforted. Fear sat in my stomach like a cold stone. The figure I had seen last night was gone, but that didn't mean it was over. I unzipped my tent cautiously, peering out. The stillness of the forest felt unnatural. No birds chirped, no wind rustled through the branches. My mind raced as I scanned the area. Nothing appeared out of place, yet everything felt different. I grabbed my flashlight and stepped into the clearing. After a moment, I noticed footprints near the fire pit. They were large and led away from my camp. My breath caught in my throat. Who had been here? Were there more people, or something else? I quickly followed the prints, my heart thumping louder with each step. As I moved deeper into the woods, I felt the weight of silence close in on me. I paused to look back at my camp. It seemed so small and helpless against the vast wilderness. I shook off the feeling and pressed on. Then I saw them. More symbols carved into trees, but these were different. They looked fresher, almost raw, as if they had been made recently. My pulse quickened as I studied the marks. Each one seemed to pulsate with an unsettling energy. I felt drawn to them, yet an instinctual part of me screamed to turn back. Just then I heard a snap behind me. I spun around, flashlight beam sweeping across the underbrush. The forest felt alive again, shadows shifting around me. I strained to see through the dusk, but only the trees stood watch. Then, I remembered my missing camera. It had my best shots from the trip, memories I couldn't afford to lose. I had to find it, but fear clawed at me. What if I found more than just my camera? I made my way back toward the camp, but I felt a sense of urgency pushing me forward. As I approached the shadows where I had seen the figure, I noticed something glimmering on the ground. My breath hitched as I bent down. It was my camera, but something was off. The lens was cracked, and when I switched it on, it only displayed static. Frustration swelled inside me. I stood abruptly, ready to scream. That's when I heard the voices again, louder this time. They echoed through the trees as if trying to communicate. A chorus of whispers entwined with the rustling leaves sent a chill down my spine. "Stay with us. You belong here." I stumbled back, shaking my head in disbelief. My legs felt like lead as I turned to run, but the voice grew clearer. "You can't leave. You were chosen." Suddenly everything went dark. The flashlight flickered off, plunging me into a thick, suffocating blackness. I felt hands brushing against my arms, cool and urgent. Panic surged back. I couldn't find my way. Then, as quickly as it had come, the darkness lifted. I blinked against the harsh light of the sun. The whispers faded, but I felt a lingering presence all around me. I needed to leave, to get out of this forest that felt like a trap. But as I took my first step away from the clearing, I heard a rustling in the trees behind me. I dared to look back, and that's when I saw it again. The figure standing silently, waiting. I froze, staring at the figure. My heart raced, pounding in my ears. The sunlight seemed to glow behind it, casting an eerie halo. It was tall and thin, cloaked in tattered fabric that blended with the shadows. Its face was hidden, but I felt its eyes bore into me, as if it could see every fear I held. The whispers returned, swirling around me like a fog. "You're too far in now, there's no escape." The voice was now louder, almost taunting. My instincts screamed at me to run, yet my body was frozen in place. I blinked rapidly, hoping to shake off the vision, but it held strong. The figure took a step forward. My breath quickened, and I finally found my feet. I turned and dashed deeper into the woods, branches scratching at my arms as I pushed through. I couldn't look back. I needed to find my way out. My mind raced. Where was my camp? I had moved so quickly that everything looked the same. The trees loomed tall and foreboding. Every snap of a twig made me jump. The whispers grew fainter, but I still felt the presence lurking just behind me. Then, I spotted a familiar landmark, a large rock formation jutting out from the ground. My stomach churned. I recognized it from earlier. I headed toward it, praying I was moving in the right direction. Suddenly I tripped over a root and fell to the ground, my flashlight flying from my grip. It landed a few feet away, the beam flickering weakly. I scrambled to grab it, my heart racing even faster. As my fingers wrapped around it, I noticed something on the ground nearby, a small dark object half buried in the leaves. I picked it up. A necklace? It was a delicate chain with an intricately designed pendant. My gut twisted as I recognized the engraving, a symbol carved into the trees. The forest felt suddenly colder, the weight of its silence pressing down. I stood, holding the necklace tightly. "What's going on?" I whispered to myself. My mind raced through the questions. Who had been here? What did this mean? I felt as though the forest was alive, watching me, testing me. As I turned to leave, I heard the figure's voice again, this time not a whisper but a clear echo that cut through the air. "You were chosen, and you cannot turn back." I took off running, clutching the necklace like a lifeline. I pushed through the brush, desperate to reach the camp. My thoughts scrambled as I recalled every detail of the symbols and whispers. What did they mean? Then I tripped again, but this time I didn't fall. Instead, I caught myself against a tree. My breath was ragged as I pressed my back against the rough bark, trying to steady myself. A soft rustle made me turn. A shape shifted in the shadows, moving toward me. Panic surged as I fumbled for my flashlight. I flicked it on, heart racing, to shine it into the darkness. But just as the light pierced the gloom, It revealed nothing. No figure. No one watching. Just trees. Yet the feeling of being hunted settled over me like a heavy cloak. That's when I felt a different sound, another set of footsteps crunching leaves. They were getting closer. I had to move. I took a deep breath and sprinted ahead, hoping desperately to escape whatever was following me. I ran, adrenaline surging through me. Each step was frantic, fueled by both fear and determination. I didn't dare look back. The footsteps were getting louder, closer. It felt as if the woods themselves were shifting around me, closing in. I focused on the light beam from my flashlight, the solitary defense against the encroaching darkness. The trees seemed to twist and loop as I passed, shadows playing tricks on my mind. The necklace felt cold against my skin, a reminder that I was not just lost in the woods. I was part of something much larger, something sinister. I spotted another rock formation. It looked different from the one I had seen earlier, jagged and menacing. I veered toward it, thinking maybe I could climb to get a better view. But as I approached, an unsettling rustle came from behind me. My pulse quickened. I didn't stop to look. I reached the rock and hesitated only for a moment before scrambling up its side. My fingers grasped the rough edges, the chill of the stone creeping through my palms. I pulled myself up and got a better view of the surrounding area. But the forest seemed endless, shadows stretching far beyond what my flashlight could illuminate. That's when I saw it. A flicker of movement through the trees. A flash of white, perhaps fabric or bone. I squinted harder, trying to discern what was lurking just out of reach. I thought I saw a figure again, but it melted back into the darkness before I could process it. I felt my breath hitch in my throat. Then I heard laughter. It was light, almost playful, sounding wrong in this place. It drifted through the trees, echoing off the rocks. Fear twisted in my gut. What were they doing here? This wasn't a place for games. I climbed down quickly, trying to shake off the laughter that curled around me. I didn't want to think about what it meant. I needed to get to camp. Needed safety. As I bolted from the rocks, I took a different path, hoping to find a trail. Each rustle in the underbrush sent shivers down my spine. I gripped the necklace tighter, its weight grounding me. I had just made it a few feet when I stumbled across a clearing I didn't recognize. In the center stood a tree, thicker than the others and gnarled with age. Vines wrapped around its trunk, and at its base something sparkled in the fading light. Curious despite my fear, I edged closer, the feeling of unease building in my stomach. That's when I noticed it. A ring of stones surrounding the base of the tree arranged in a perfect circle. Inside there was a small altar made of weathered wood, and on it lay items I could barely make out. Bones? A collection of trinkets? I couldn't tell, but everything seemed wrong. Before I could bend down to examine the altar, a low growl echoed through the trees. It was deep and primal. My heart raced, the sound vibrating through my bones. I spun around, aiming my flashlight toward the noise, and then I saw it. A pair of glowing eyes staring at me from the shadows. I froze once more, caught in the thrall of imminent danger. In that moment, I truly understood I was not alone. I backed away slowly, trying to make my escape. But just as I turned to run, the figure stepped into the light, revealing a creature I could hardly comprehend. Everything in me screamed to flee, yet I was rooted in place, captivated and terrified. The darkness of the forest felt heavier than ever, and I realized, despite having run so far, maybe I was just stepping deeper into something I could never escape. I should have turned and fled, but I found myself unable to move. The creature before me was unlike anything I had ever seen. Tall, its skin seemed to shimmer in the light of my flashlight, alternating between shades of gray and black. Its limbs were long, limbs that should have flexed but were twisted and still. The eyes, those unsettling orbs, were locked onto mine. I could feel their weight pressing against my chest. "What do you want?" I whispered, knowing full well it couldn't answer. But maybe, just maybe, I could distract myself from my mounting fear by trying to communicate. Suddenly the creature leaned forward, its shiny skin reflecting the beam of my flashlight. I flinched but didn't look away. For a moment I thought I saw intelligence in those eyes, something that felt almost human. But then the growl resumed, this time accompanied by a low rumble that vibrated through the ground beneath me. Thinking clearly had become a challenge. Should I run? Should I stay? My chances of survival felt precarious as I calculated my options. Then my eyes landed once again on the altar at the foot of the gnarled tree. What was that strange connection between it and this creature? The sound of cracking branches pulled me back to the present. The creature, sensing something beyond my own panic, turned its head. Once, twice. It sniffed the air like it was weighing its options. And then it vanished. One moment it was there, the next it melded into the shadows, leaving me completely alone again, but not for long. The laughter returned, louder now, echoing in a way that felt taunting. I spun around, shining my flashlight in every direction, but the light couldn't penetrate the darkness where the sounds bounced. Panic surged again. I was still in the woods, still lost, surrounded. In a moment of desperation, I ran back toward the altar. I needed to know what was there, desperate for anything that could provide guidance or at least a sense of clarity. I knelt before it, casting my beam over the scattered objects. I could see a small button, worn and faded. What was it from? Next to it lay a piece of cloth, ragged and stained. But then, my heart sank as I spotted what I had dreaded seeing. Bones. They were small, delicate, almost too fragile. I couldn't tell if they were animal or something else altogether. A shiver ran down my spine as I realized the implications of what I had found. A sudden crash broke through the night and a wave of urgency washed over me. I gathered myself, stuffing the button into my pocket, and stood up. I had to leave. The laughter persisted like a chorus over the trees, beckoning me deeper into the woods. But I didn't want to go back there. I needed to find a way out. Suddenly the creature reappeared out of the shadows on the other side of the clearing, blocking my path with a low growl. I felt the necklace around my neck grow hot, urging me to act. I took a step toward the creature, heart racing, trying to swallow my fear. My flashlight flickered, casting erratic shadows that danced across the clearing. That's when I stumbled upon an idea, a chance to confront the weight of this moment. With renewed courage, I raised the beam of light directly at the eyes of the creature and shouted into the growing darkness, "Leave me alone!" The growl shifted to a low, mournful sound, almost resembling a cry. My heart pounded in my chest, but I stood firm. I didn't know how this would end, but one thing was clear. The end was not yet upon me. I was still waiting for my answer, and I could feel it pulling me toward whatever awaited next. The creature retreated into the shadows, but not far enough. I could still feel its presence lingering in the periphery, thick with tension. The low growl continued, vibrating through the night air, mingling with the stillness around me. I could hardly hear the laughter now. It had faded into an uncomfortable quiet that settled over the trees like fog. What was I supposed to do now? I scanned the clearing, desperate for any sign of escape. The faint glow of my flashlight illuminated the gnarled roots of the tree, the bones scattered like forgotten relics at the altar. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd disturbed something ancient and restless. My thoughts raced. Why was I drawn back here? I had wanted answers, but now I was haunted by the implications of the creature and the altar. Were those bones connected to the supernatural force that lurked in these woods? Panic seeped through my fingers, which tightened around the flashlight like a lifeline. Then I noticed a faint shimmer near the altar. The button I had picked up caught the light. I knelt down and tossed aside the cloth, revealing a small, intricately carved figurine hidden beneath. It looked like a creature, but with features that were unsettlingly human. More than just a trinket, it felt significant. Why was it here? What did it mean? Without warning, the laughter erupted again, now melding with the sounds of rustling leaves. My heart raced as I stood and spun around, searching for the next threat. The shadows seemed to stretch, thickening with each passing moment. I had to act. I had to get out. Then everything went dark. My flashlight flickered and died, leaving me blind in the pitch-black night. My breath came in frantic bursts as I struggled to keep calm. I thought of running, but where could I go? The clearing felt alive, shifting around me. I could have sworn I heard footsteps in the brush, creeping closer with deliberate slowness. Just when despair began to tighten its grip, I felt the warmth of the necklace against my skin. It pulsed as if in rhythm with my heartbeat. I reached for it, closing my eyes. It wasn't just a pendant. It felt connected to something, maybe the altar or the creature. A branch snapped nearby, and that pulse intensified, urging me forward. With newfound determination, I clasped the figurine tightly in my other hand and whispered, "Show me the way." I didn't know what it meant, but the words passed my lips as if they were my last hope. In response, a breeze whipped through the clearing, stirring the air and clearing away the oppressive silence. I could hear the laughter again, but it was different now. It was playful, almost inviting. I opened my eyes to see a flicker of movement in the darker shadows. There, a path emerged, faint but visible, leading deeper into the woods. My instinct screamed at me to flee, but curiosity anchored me in place. What lay down that path? Could I find answers, or was it just another trap? The choice loomed heavy before me, and there was only one way to explore it. Before I could hesitate, I stepped forward, my pulse quickening with each stride. Shadows danced around me, whispering secrets I couldn't yet understand. I was racing toward a fate I could barely comprehend, but I knew I had to uncover the truth hidden in the depths of the Cumberland Wilderness. Stepping onto the path felt like crossing an unseen threshold. The air thickened with mystery, and I could have sworn the trees leaned closer, as if eavesdropping on my thoughts. The shadows played tricks on my eyes. I tried to focus on the path ahead, but the branches curled and twisted like fingers reaching for me in the dim light. As I walked farther in, the laughter faded, replaced by a soft hum, a sound like the whisper of the wind through leaves. It was strangely comforting, yet it stirred something restless inside me. Each step felt like a dare. What awaited me at the end of this narrow trail? Then suddenly, a flicker of silver caught my attention. I turned to find a small stream reflecting the faint light from the moon. The water ran swiftly, and for a moment I was transfixed. It was mesmerizing, almost serene, but something felt off. The way the water flowed, it seemed to be alive, curling around rocks as if trying to communicate. I leaned closer, entranced, but then I heard it, a soft call like someone whispering my name. Instinctively I stepped back, heart pounding. I scanned the surrounding trees for movement, but they stood still, shrouded in darkness. What was that sound? I tried to convince myself it was the wind playing tricks, but doubt gnawed at my thoughts. Gathering my courage, I knelt by the stream, and there it was again. The trickling water seemed to grow louder, more insistent. I wanted to reach in, to touch it, but I hesitated. My mind raced back to the altar, to the figurine, to the bones. Who had once been here? What had they sacrificed? Without much choice, I pulled the figurine from my pocket. Holding it above the water, I felt that pulse again, steady and rhythmic. It was as if it commanded my attention, urging me to let it connect with the stream. But just as I leaned forward, a sudden rush of wind whipped through the trees, pulling my hair back. A chill ran down my spine. I sensed a change in the atmosphere. Shadows moved in my peripheral vision, darting between trees. My heart thundered. I had to decide. Should I press forward or retreat? But then, as if answering my unspoken question, the water shimmered and the voice returned, clearer now, a beckoning invitation. I forced myself to lean in. Just then the figurine slipped from my fingers, splashing into the stream like a stone. I gasped and dove for it, but the water was like liquid darkness, swallowing it whole. Panic surged through me. It was gone. Before I could process what I had lost, the water roiled violently, sending waves crashing to the banks. The air vibrated, and that soft voice turned into a series of disembodied whispers. Shapes began to form in the mist rising from the stream. I stumbled back, trying to regain my balance. That's when I saw them. Faces emerging from the fog, their expressions frozen in anguish or fear. They were reflections of the past, lost souls trapped in this forsaken wilderness. I stumbled backward, dread wrapping around me. I wasn't just encountering my fears, I was walking into the nightmare of others. I turned to run, but the path behind me vanished into a dark void. The damp earth shifted beneath my feet, and I realized I had stepped onto ground that was no longer solid. I was caught in a web of chaos between the living and the dead, and the whispers grew louder, now chanting my name. As my heart pounded in my chest, I realized I had stumbled into something much larger than myself. I had to escape before I became one of them. But how? In the depths of the Cumberland Wilderness, would I find a way back? Or would I be just another lost soul? The ground beneath my feet shifted, unstable and soft, like a dream teetering on the edge of reality. I turned back to where the path had been, but all I saw was a void that seemed to swallow the very air. Panic surged. My instincts screamed at me to run, but where could I go? The whispers encircled me, an unending chorus of lost voices urging me to join them. I closed my eyes for a moment, trying to concentrate. I needed to recall the path I had taken, the way back. But the memories felt distant, like a flickering candle in a storm. I opened my eyes again, grabbing at the thin threads of resolve left within me. I had to move. I couldn't remain rooted in this cursed place. As I stepped forward, the water swelled, crashing against the banks like the roar of 1,000 voices, each one more desperate than the last. I followed the sound of the stream, desperately hoping it would lead me to solid ground again. The mist curled around my legs, pulling me back, but I fought against it. That's when I heard it. A voice, distinct among the others, calling my name. It was softer than the other whispers and unnervingly familiar. "Come to me," it said. I froze. Was it a trick? Or was it someone I knew? The hairs on my neck stood up. I moved cautiously toward the sound, drawn yet terrified. The ground beneath me firmed slightly, and I stumbled into a small clearing away from the stream. The world grew quieter for a brief moment, suspended in stillness. I spotted a shape in the center of the clearing, a stone pedestal, like an altar, sparsely decorated with moss and vines. Drawn closer, I saw it shimmer under the moonlight, the surface gleaming strangely. I approached it, my heart racing. An object sat on top of the pedestal. A bone, much like the ones I had seen earlier, but this one was polished, almost gleaming in the enchanted light. I reached out to touch it, but the moment my fingers grazed its surface, the whispers returned with a vengeance. The air surged, pressing against me from all sides as if demanding my attention. Suddenly a figure slipped through the mist, its outline flickering like a dying flame. I felt cold fear grip my heart. It was a girl, perhaps not much older than me. Her eyes were wide, filled with an eerie light, but her face twisted in an expression of profound sadness. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered urgently, the sound mingling with the chaos around me. "Leave now. They will come." "Who will come?" I stammered, my voice trembling. But before she could answer, the ground shook, and the whispers crescendoed into a deafening roar. The shadows closed in around us, twisting and writhing with unrestrained fury. I stepped back instinctively, realizing far too late that I had awoken something deep within the earth. In an instant, the girl was gone, swallowed back into the mist. The pedestal cracked, sending shards flying. I turned to run, adrenaline pumping through me like wildfire. But the shadows shifted, moving in tandem as if they could anticipate my every move. I was trapped. As I spun around, the air crackled with energy, and I caught just a glimpse of the girl's face. Anguished. Desperate. That visual burned into my mind. Would I be able to escape the wilderness in time, or was it too late for me? I stumbled forward, pushing through the thickening mist, but a loud crash echoed behind me, the path further disappearing into chaos. I had to find the way out, or risk becoming just another voice lost in the dark. Would I uncover the truth, or was this the beginning of my end? I ran. My heart pounded in my chest, each beat a reminder of the urgency. The shadows shifted, swirling around me like a living entity urging me to stop. The whispers rose again, a cacophony of tormenting voices that drowned out my thoughts. I fought the urge to give in, to yield to the darkness pulling at my mind. As I pushed through the mist, the ground beneath me felt uneven. I stumbled, bracing myself against a tree that loomed out of the fog, its bark gnarled and twisted. I tried to steady my breathing to make sense of the confusion, but the air felt thick, electric with something I couldn't name. I had to understand what was happening. I couldn't let fear control me. I could hear the stream again, a distant promise of escape. I focused on it, hoping to reach the water's edge before whatever hunted me caught up. My feet slipped slightly on wet leaves, but I pressed on, desperate to find a solid path. Then, just as I reached another clearing, movement caught my eye. A figure flashed between the trees, something small and quick. Was it the girl? My pulse quickened at the thought. I called out, "Wait! Come back!" But my voice fell flat against the overwhelming grip of the wilderness. The figure paused for an instant, and I caught a glimpse of long hair and tattered clothing. Before I could take a step toward it, it vanished completely, as if the forest itself had swallowed it whole. I felt the panic rise again, choking me. Was I really alone? In that moment of despair, the stream's gurgle grew louder, pulling my attention. I decided to follow it. Maybe it would lead me to safety, or at least a way to understand this nightmarish landscape. I emerged onto its bank, the moonlight shimmering across the surface. The water looked serene, but I knew better than to trust the calm. Taking a breath, I knelt by the edge, cupping my hands to drink, hoping to cool the fire of fear inside me. Just then, a ripple spread across the water, a distortion breaking the reflection. My gut twisted as a face emerged, someone staring back at me from beneath the surface. It was the girl again, her eyes wide and motionless, urging me silently. I recoiled, stumbling back as the current rippled violently. What did it mean? Was she trapped? The confusion swirled in my mind, blurring the line between reality and a twisted dream. My heart raced at the thought of her reaching out, unfulfilled and aching for something lost. Then I noticed something else across the stream, hidden behind dense bushes. A faint glow pulsed gently, encouraging and alluring. I felt drawn to it, despite the warning bells signaling danger. Should I investigate? Or was that just another trick? I hesitated, my instincts battling with curiosity. As I stood there frozen, I heard the whispers again, growing ever louder, as if daring me to make a choice. In that moment, I realized I could no longer ignore what was happening. I had to confront it, or I would become just another figment in this nightmare. Taking a deep breath, I stepped toward the glow. Whatever it was, it felt like the key to all this chaos. But as I moved, the ground trembled again. More shadows flitted around me, closer now, more aggressive. My heart thundered in my ears, drowning out the whispers as I prepared myself to face whatever lay ahead. I was not finished yet. As I reached the edge of the stream, I knew one thing for sure. I had to uncover the truth, or it would consume me. Just as I approached the glowing object, the whispers crescendoed, drowning out all rational thought. I felt the forest twist around me, shadows mixing with my fear, creating a palpable tension that prickled at my skin. The light pulsed like a heartbeat, steady yet intoxicating, drawing me closer despite the danger lurking in the shadows. I stepped carefully across the bank, each footfall seemingly echoing through the stillness. The glow was mesmerizing, a small crystal or orb resting among twisted roots, emanating an otherworldly light. It felt safe, inviting, as if it held the key to every mystery the forest offered. But I remembered the girl in the water and the echo of warnings. My pulse quickened. I had to be cautious. As I reached for it, the air shifted. The whispers intensified, frantic, urgent. "Stop, it's not yours." I froze, heart racing. Panic surged as realization hit me. This glow, this plea, was more than just a beacon. It was a lure. Suddenly the ground shook violently, throwing me off balance. I stumbled, grasping at the edge of the stream. With a crash of branches and an echoing growl, the creature emerged again, stepping from the shadows where it had lingered unseen. This time, its presence was palpable, suffocating. "What do you want?" I shouted, a mix of anger and fear bubbling to the surface. The creature regarded me with those haunting eyes, the shadows twisting around it like smoke. It was not just an animal. It was something primal, ancient. The whispers now formed a single coherent message, an almost pleading chorus. "Return what was taken. Free them. I felt a strange warmth at the base of my neck. The necklace pulsed again, shimmering in rhythm with the light before me. My mind spun. What had I taken? And who needed freeing? Driven by instinct, I knelt beside the glow and lifted the orb, feeling its warmth radiate into my palm. It was humming, a sound that reverberated in my chest, resonating with the very bones of the earth surrounding me. The creature approached cautiously, watching my every move while the echoes of the past swirled around us. I hesitated for just a moment, breathing deeply. Then, with unexpected determination, I cast the orb into the stream. A flash of brilliant light erupted, illuminating the darkened woods as if 1,000 stars had fallen at once, mingling with the whispers that surrounded me. The laughter, the tension, they all became silent in that instant. The water began to churn, creating a whirlpool from which faces emerged, sorrowful and anxious, whispering for release. The girl's face resurfaced, her eyes meeting mine, filled with gratitude and a somber understanding. "Thank you," she whispered, and I felt the weight of her story seep beneath my skin. The shadows receded, and the creature seemed to grow less threatening, its posture less aggressive. It stepped back, as if acknowledging the power of the moment. I could hardly see through the blinding light, but I felt a connection intertwining us, binding us all in this peculiar dance of fate. As the figures sighed in unison, a translucent fog enveloped them, lifting the weight on my chest. I knew this wasn't just a release, it was a cleansing, a restoration of something long lost. But in that beautiful chaos, I became acutely aware of the darkness still lingering beyond the edges of my vision. Then, just like that, silence fell, and the orb vanished with the light, leaving me breathless. I was left standing on the bank, the water calm again, a soft glimmer of hope shimmering beneath the surface. But the creature still lingered, watching as if weighing my next move. I stood rooted in place, grasping the necklace, now cool against my skin. How many had been lost in this woods? How many would still wander, lost and searching for release? I realized that I would never fully understand the answers to those questions. Turning slowly, I retraced my steps along the stream, the moonlight spilling through the branches like liquid silver. My heart wrestled with uncertainty. Was I safe? I still didn't know if the forest's true nature was rooted in the supernatural or simply my own haunted fear. I felt the echoes of the whispers all around me, but I had found the strength to walk forward. Soon I spotted my camp in the distance, the familiar shape of my tent barely eclipsing the horizon of trees. The shadows, the whispers, the grim memories. They would follow me, lingering in the corners of my mind. Part of me now. I hesitated for the briefest moment at the threshold of safety. I could still feel the presence of those lost souls, their stories woven into the fabric of the wilderness that would gnaw at me for years to come. I moved forward, stepping out of the forest that had nearly claimed me, knowing I had escaped for now, but the wilderness had changed me. There would always be a thread binding me to this place, and I couldn't shake the feeling that one day I'd find myself drawn back, whether by choice or fate I couldn't yet say. But for now I was alive, staring at the dawn breaking with a bittersweet sense of relief. What truly waited in those shadows, I'd probably never know. But I left with the words of the girl etched into my memory. "You were chosen." It was a truth that would settle in my heart long after I left, a mystery that might never be resolved.